Welcome back to Diesel Works. We're back in the shop today, working on the S10 again. Well, it kind of looks like an S10. It's getting there. Once all that crap gets to get put on. But for now, just one little step at a time. Right now, I'm filling in holes, basically. Hole right here. And it's mainly for aesthetics. I don't think it really has any effect. If anything, it's probably a dumb thing to do because it's adding weight. But to me, there's just something that looks good about when you look up under a truck frame and you see it's all smooth, solid, It's those little things that make a difference, when someone looks at a truck, they look it over and it's these little, tiny things, a hole here, a little spot there, just different things that all add up to looking at it and knowing like, oh, this thing's been done nice, or a lot of work went into this, because, when it's all together, those little things, the average person can look at it and know, oh, well, even to be able to do, just say filling in that hole, right? If this truck was all together and you said fill in that hole, well, you're grinding paint off. It's a big deal. But now that it's like this, it's a lot easier to just do every little thing I can. So that way, once it goes off, I decided we're going to sandblast it, because it'd take way too long. It'd be days of me hand sanding all of this, getting in these little cracks and just everywhere, getting it down where for like $400 I can get this whole thing sandblasted, and then it comes back to me and I just have to give it, I got to go over it once with 220 to smooth it out. Then we can spray epoxy primer. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to get it powder coated or spray it, because to powder coat it, right, that would be ideal. To me, that's the easiest solution. Get it all powder coated, drop it off, pick it up. It's already nice, done, ready to go. The problem is that right there, okay? This is going to get a roll cage put into it, right? Well, when you put the roll cage on, it's going to go through the floor here, back here, over there, ignore the leaf blower, over there, so it's going to go through the floor, come down, and then we're going to weld, obviously frames upside down, but just reference, outriggers, like chromoly tubing out to about here on either side, and then those bars will come down through the floor, and attach that post. Well, essentially, unless you want to cut the entire floor out of that, you can't take the cab back off. It's attached. For good or for worse, it's on there. Well, when you do that, now you're not going to be able to get to all the frame rail to powder it right. I mean, you might be able to do some crap here and there, like to get into it, but it'd just be a nightmare to try and powder it. Well, what's the next best solution? Okay, if I get the outriggers down here, I weld them on, which means I put the cab on temporarily, kind of mock up the cage, then set it on, weld my outriggers on front and back. Then I could just tape off the, end of the outrigger, so that way maybe like that much of it is bare steel. And then that way I have something good to weld to, because what you don't want to do with powder is if I get it back, I have them say powder coat everything. Well, yeah, then when I get it back, I got to grind powder coat off, and that kind of ruins it, because once you get underneath a little section of powder, it's just going to start chipping and crack, like it's just going to go down. So I think painting's the way to go, especially because we can make changes later on, or, you know, grind something off, paint it, it's done. I do want to do like a cool color. So, you know, if it was just black, that's easy. I mean, I wouldn't care. But if I'm going to do like a color like I'm thinking, maybe like kind of candy or metallic, then it makes it easier to powder, because you don't have to do as much. You know, I don't have to prep, sand, all this crap that goes into it, hours and hours and hours of work to paint it. That's where powder comes in easier. But like I was saying, drawbacks, there's quite a few drawbacks to powder. And, you know, on paper, it probably is best to paint it. It's just the amount of work that just painting it is going to take. So I still have to see, like, I tacked this little piece of metal in because this was a hole in the frame, right? Little circular hole. Actually, I can show you this side. This side. It's actually like recessed, right? Well, whenever it comes time to sand this all out, I want the frame to be smooth, right? I don't want you to be able to tell if there was a hole. Well, because it's so recessed, if you were to run, you know, a straight edge down here, as you can see, even though I just tacked that little piece on top, it's almost perfectly level. So I did this in the back too. We'll grind this down. We're gonna finish the weld, grind it down, and then once it comes time to finally like prep for paint or whatever, we'll do a little body filler. Same thing, all these kind of places where it's just a little nick here or there. I didn't grind it perfectly, you know, flat, straight, whatever. Like all this will get ground down, and then a little bit of body. And like I said, you're never gonna see it. I'm gonna be the only one that even knows about it. But to me, those are the kind of little things that matter, that make a huge difference in the end when the truck's done. It's just all those it's the little things that just add up and add up and add up, because, you know, you don't do this and then you get towards, and you're like, man, that looks like crap. Like, I really wish I would have filled it in. And it's, you know, way harder to kind of backtrack. So I'll update you here once I get that piece filled in, weld that side, and then this hole's a little long, so I made some metal pieces out of the old frame. Let's see here. Just rough cut pieces like this. Gonna grind these down and then put it in. Also, if you haven't noticed, finally got a bandsaw, and it ain't special, but it'll work. So now it'll make cutting tubing and a lot of stuff a whole lot easier. It was actually, it says wood bandsaw on the side of it, but it's a metal blade. It cuts metal. Like I said, fabrication isn't the main gig. We're trying to do this on the cheap. So we'll do the repairs like I was saying, and then update you from there. All right, a little bit of a skip forward, but we got all the little patches, plugs, whatever you want to call them, welded in. This side, I got them all ground down, so, you know, the patch there, up top there, there. I guess that was one at one point. And there, up here, there, and over there. Now, like I said, it doesn't have to look too pretty right now, because once I get the K-member on the front, the whole frame's gonna get sent to sandblast, and then I'll get it back and do the final kind of scuff and the final scuff, and just going over and touching up any kind of holes, spots, whatever I may need to weld. Then we'll put a like a skim coat of filler just to cover, like, there's no sense filling this up with weld, like it's just too much. So we'll put a little skim coat of filler and then be able to sand it smooth, because, you know, it'll be fine on the sides. Now, this is the bottom of the frame. Obviously, it's flipped upside down, but I'm not going to use any kind of filler or anything like that on the bottom, mainly because if I take that back, I might use some, maybe up here, maybe, but anywhere on the bottom part of the rails. It'll just get the epoxy primer, maybe like a filler primer, just to fix fill in all the sand scratches and stuff. But I don't want to put filler anywhere on the bottom where a jack may come into contact with. If I have you never know what's going to happen. So if I need to stick a jack under here, the last thing I want to have to think about is, oh crap, there's body filler in that spot. I don't want to stick a jack, because body filler is strong, but I'd be willing to bet I put a nice sharp jack underneath of it, it's just going to crack and fall off no matter how thin or skim coat you do it. So now, like I said, we'll move on to this side. I'll grind all these little bits down and we'll go from there. Okay, so you saw the grinding. I went back over it with the bigger wheel after I got done smaller, because like you said, you get places like this where it's level with the frame or even, but you got these gaps just because, like, you know, it was beveled in, and instead of trying to fill that in with weld and it's just going to make a mess, and then a lot more grinding, a little bit of filler, never know the difference. It has nothing to do structurally. Like, it's not going to affect anything. There was a hole there. If anything, I made it stronger, so it's not like I'm relying on body filler to keep the truck up. And I've never done it before, so for all I know, this could go Fast and the Furious, and the chassis twists as I take off for the quarter mile and bends it, and then my skim coat or whatever filler I use in the frame, because the chassis twists, flakes off and cracks off into Neverland. Who knows? But that's done. The back's pretty much done. I think I've said that before, but I keep going back to it. This is what nobody tells you about building a car. Everyone, on paper, everyone makes it seem like, yeah, get the parts ready to go. Like, you should be able to build this out no problem. But these grinding spots, that is what adds up to years, because it's never done, no matter what. I put the back half in. It could have been done, but I didn't want it to. There were spots that I didn't like how it looked, so I wanted to redo it. And you end up redoing everything 2 or 3 times because, this weld doesn't come out how you want it to look, or that side comes out better. So then you come back to this side to re-weld it to match that side. But then when you re-weld this side, it actually turns out worse. So then you got to grind this down to redo it, then grind that down so you don't have to do as much to this side. It's just, it's a never ending. You'll never be done, ever. It doesn't matter. It'll never be done. Ever, ever, ever. It'll never be done. There will always be something that needs done to this truck. And you can just do the best you can, and you eventually got to know when to, all right, call it and move on to the next thing. Otherwise, you will stay. That's how cars, project cars, get shoved in a garage and never touched, because you have all these ideas for what you want to do, and then you don't get to it. It's like analysis paralysis. Like, you have so many ideas going in your head. Instead of just starting and doing it, you are concerned with, oh, well, if I do this, then this will happen. Or if I do this, then this will happen. When in reality, it doesn't matter. Just start it. And it's the same way for, when you're putting stuff in at this level, down to the frame, it's in. It's welded in. It's good. No one's ever going to see the underneath of the frame. No one. No one has ever. Not one time have I ever been to a drag strip where someone's like, hey, that's a sweet car. Let me crawl under it and look at your welds real quick just to inspect. It just doesn't happen. No one's going to do it. I'm going to know. And that's the shit that keeps me up at night, because I know, that weld wasn't as good as I could have. I should have redone it better. It'll make you go insane. So, like I said, originally, thus the skim coat, because otherwise, if left to my own devices, I'd be there for 3 hours making that perfect out of metal. And it doesn't need to be. It just doesn't. In fact, like, the amount of time that I've added, because I decided to fill in these holes, all for looks. Just because I think it would look cool. That's it. No other reason. I probably added 5 or 6 hours worth of work to this, if not more. So, now that it's all filled in and I'm somewhat happy, we got to clean the floor because there's about 100 pounds of dust, metal dust, and if you leave it, it'll rust. Floor turns brown. It's just a mess. So, we're going to sweep out the floor, clean it out. Then, it'll be in the next video. We're going to hook up the forklift to this, take it outside, lift it up, set it down, and then put it back in here right side up, because exciting news, the K member shipped today, or might be tomorrow. Either way, I finally got a confirmation email saying it's shipping. So now we get to come up to the front and hack all this useless crap off. This. I'm half tempted to cut this out while it's upside down, at least the bottom section in here. I don't know yet. I haven't decided if I'm just going to cut it here and then, follow it up the frame with a die grinder or something, just cut it at the welds, then straight across, and this could stay, maybe. It depends on how difficult it is. Realistically, to get a cutoff wheel in here anyway, I'd have to cut this off first. Maybe not. I guess I could run a cutoff wheel there. It'd just be tedious when you're trying to remove something and there's going to be holes and crap anyway that I'm going to have to fill, because, once this crossmember comes out, that's going to be a big old hole. Where's another one? That's the other side. Then this side, big old holes. Check that out. So those are definitely going to have to be filled in, because it's going to look real ridiculous putting this K-member in and just have 2 gaping holes. Now, maybe those aren't structural, but to me, it just looks like, come on. You're going this far? You're going this far. Putting a K-member in, an S10, for God's sake. You can't fill in the hole. Like, it just looks cheap. Like, oh, I threw this together with bubblegum and shoestrings because that's the kind of quality of work I do. Like, that's what that looks like to me, leaving holes open. And then once the shocks come, this will get cut, this will get cut. And I don't know how exactly, haven't gotten that far yet, but this is gonna get welded in somehow. Don't know yet. In the future, because we're gonna be running coilovers, and to fit the coilover, half is gonna come out. So, you know, just throw that on the laundry list of 10 miles long of all the crap that needs done and that I'm going to have to do. So, like I said, next video, I'll show you lifting this up. We'll put it on the forks, take it out, so on and so forth. All right, guys. See ya.